Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host. And joining us this week is one of my go-to podcast compadres, Mr. Joe Lever.
Greetings, Jimmy.
Yes, greetings. And we are joined by a very special guest from Plus One Player. It's Steve. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Jimmy.
Thank you for coming on the show, man, because we've been I've been on a couple of your things. We did our charity stream together, but this has been a long time coming. So I'm glad you're finally here.
I know, I'm excited. This is a good Wednesday night for me.
Dude, yeah, well, it's a great Wednesday night for us. Yeah, exactly. It's like Joe's like, yeah, it's just every Wednesday for me. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so thank you for joining us, Joe. Obviously, thank you. It's nice to have you back. You've been, I think, it was about like 1 week or 2 weeks now that you haven't been around because we did Captain Marvel.
I didn't see Captain Marvel, so I got the boot.
You got the boot. I was like, get out of here. I just don't want him to be bored. I'd be like, so does she like fly in the movie?
I'm gonna eventually see it, and it would have just it would have ruined it all for me.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. We'll see her in Endgame or whatever else.
I heard that they're gonna make a sequel, but it just features the cat.
Oh my!
Cat was amazing, right?
Goose. Yeah, Goose is something else.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I might actively boycott it, but I'm not a cat guy, so I mean,
I'm not a cat guy either.
Yes,
that's why we raise money for the dogs.
That's why we raise money for the dogs and the veterans.
And the veterans.
But that mostly it wasn't the cats and the veterans; it was the dogs.
It was not. Well, that's because nobody's trying to pair service cats with anybody.
Exactly. There probably is someone. They're like, we're not doing well.
It's too lazy. Too lazy.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're joining us for the first time, we don't talk about just cats and dogs and veterans. We talk about movies and games, TV shows, entertainment, music of any nature, and we want to, Yeah, all the things. But before we get into any type of news, because Steve is new here, I like to do this thing. It's kind of a litmus test, a baseline, and have Steve kind of talk about some of his favorite movies, games. Steve, what are your favorite things?
My favorite things. This is fantastic because this is actually a running theme on our podcast is we love to do like our favorite X, Y, and Z in gaming. So we talk a lot about this. So my favorite game, as anybody who has ever heard me speak about gaming knows, it's Metal Gear Solid, just the entire franchise, except Revengeance. I don't count that as part of it. I'm not a hack and slash guy. I don't hate Raiden. I actually really like Raiden. I feel like I'm one of the people who actually enjoys him as a character and wasn't super pissed off in Metal Gear Solid 2 when it was like, oh, by the way, here's Raiden. So I love the Metal Gear Solid series. More recently, for favorite games, gotta throw God of War in there because that's one of the best games ever made at this point. I had such a good time with that. And we talked a lot about it. Spider-Man. Spider-Man's right up there with me because I think it's actually a better superhero game than the Arkham games I love the Arkham games. So I love Batman, but I thought Spider-Man was just like an all-around better game. So that became one of my top tier, that's what I...
Jimmy, response.
Oh, what I was gonna say? No, I mean I agree. I think Spider-Man's really good. The one thing I like too about Spider-Man is it makes sense when he flies in a fight across to fight punch someone else. Because Batman would like 20 backflips. I'm like, Batman, you're a dude, right? Like you just did that. Like you do that all the time. Like Spidey does it. I'm like, I buy it. But when Bats does it, I'm like, no.
Yeah, because Spider-Man's all about agility and quick movements, whereas Batman's he's literally just a guy. So how does he have the stamina to do all these backflips? He's not a gymnast. I get he's a ninja. I love Batman. He's my favorite superhero. But in terms of gameplay, because I actually went back, because I bought the Arkham HD collection on PS4 because it was like $5 on PSN.
Oh wow!
And so I went back to play Arkham City after playing Spider-Man, and it was amazing how much slower the combat was in Batman. And not just the movements, but you actually had to press the button slower to execute your combos. And so going back and forth was really difficult because then I tried to go finish the DLC for Spider-Man. And I got my ass kicked in combat because I was too slow.
Yep. Spidey's fast. It's very fast.
It's very fast. So those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but Metal Gear Solid is still the coup de grace. That's what I've been streaming lately when I do stream on Wednesdays because I finally, a couple months ago, I finally got my capture card and all that set up so I can stream my PS3. And so I'm right towards the end of Metal Gear Solid 1 right now in my playthrough. I'm about to fight Vulcan Raven for the second time. So
look at you.
Next Wednesday, I'll be back doing that. Actually, maybe not next Wednesday because PAX East is next week and Kate and Matt are going to be in town. So we're going to have a good time doing all types of PAX East stuff. So I might not be able to stream next Wednesday. But favorite movies. All-time favorite movie, Terminator 2. I have a tough time hearing anybody say that it's not the greatest movie of all time.
All right.
I think it very well may be. So that's definitely my go-to. And then I love The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a fantastic movie all around. Naturally, Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker, but that was the one where we got like the really gravelly Batman voice.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of humor for me in that aspect, but I still like Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne.
I've got a question for you about Dark Knight. Maybe I'm the only person who this is truly, it bothers me on like not a daily basis, but maybe like once a month. The fact that Maggie Gyllenhaal is just in here and they didn't just like, they could have just called her someone else. They're like, no, it's still Rachel. And I get the Katie Holmes, maybe not everybody liked her, but it does continuity wise bother me so much that everyone's just like, it's the same person. I'm like, no.
It jars me a little bit.
Yeah, it is a little jarring. That's probably why they killed her off, to be honest. They're just like, well, we can't do this for a third movie.
Yeah,
Where is she?
Exactly. Yeah.
Where is she?
Rachel.
Who are you going for? Rachel. All right, we got it, Batman.
But anyway, sorry, keep going. Yeah, Dark Knight. Obviously, it's a very
Dark Knight, and then for comedy movies, this one I think I have to go with The Big Lebowski as my all-time favorite comedy movie because that one. I mean, every time I watch it, I find something new that I miss and I laugh at, and it's timeless. Like when they teased, Jeff Bridges was like teasing a Super Bowl announcement. I was like, I know this is going to just be some commercial, but a little part of me was like, please be The Big Lebowski too.
Sure, yeah. Everybody thought it was going to be
him, and then John Goodman as Walter Sobchak, like one of the greatest comedic characters of all time. I love that movie. I can watch it just about every single month if I really wanted to, but I need to space it out because I need to savor it when I do go back to it. So I love The Big Lebowski. We finally, because we got it from my dad. Me and my brother bought it from my dad. We bought it from like 2.5 years ago. And he finally watched it like last week, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a good movie." I was like, "That's all you got for me?
Give me that back."
2.5 years later, that's it.
You're like, "Thanks for watching it. Appreciate that." Like,
but he started drinking White Russians because of it. I was like, "All right, that's respectable."
That's really funny. Okay, so you mentioned at least Dark Knight. We have to ask: do you have a favorite MCU film? Just to balance it out.
Of course. Because that's the thing. I love the MCU films much more than the DC films because, I mean, you'd be crazy not to. So, but I still...
a bit later.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about that. Right now, it's still Infinity War just because the way they were able to get all that screen time for all of those major characters and actually make it work and not feel rushed. And I sat there for like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes. And when it ended, I still wanted to see more. Like that is an impressive feat. But it's close between that, Civil War, and Ragnarok. Like those three movies are all very well done.
Cool. Good picks. Yeah, the one thing I like to, you mentioned about Infinity War, I was thinking about this the other day. It's the one superhero movie I feel that there isn't like any filler at all. Like it's like it uses up every second of screen time for everything. It's just like, yep, just going. Like for the most part, there's always just like a thing happening. It's like it's like kind of Lord of the Rings. There's like 3 different like storylines going on at the same time. So you're just like, oh my gosh, it's going.
Yeah, you couldn't look away.
Yeah.
That was one of the movies that I really had to go to the bathroom after, and like when you wait, because the stupid post credit scenes, like Marvel, I it's great, I love it, but please. Make them happen earlier. Like people got to go to the bathroom, but like that was one of them where I was just like sitting there. I'm like, come on, just show me what we need. I gotta go.
I'm not reading any of this. Hurry up.
But it was worth it. It's totally worth it to see the little Captain Marvel peeper. I was like, all right, let's rock.
Yeah, you're like, cool. Finally, you're like, where was that during the invasion of New York? Fury's like, I figured they could handle it. It's fine. New York City is about to be obliterated by a nuclear device. Whatever.
I saw someone post a clip. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Summer Heights High. It was on HBO. It's by I think he was a New Zealander, Chris Lilly, and he basically plays like a bunch of different characters. And so they play this clip where this girl walks in and he's playing like this theater teacher, and he just goes, "Where you been, bitch? Where have you bloody been?" And it just goes, what the Avengers are saying to Captain Marvel when she shows up. Where have you been?
Yeah, where have you been? We've been this whole time.
Have you seen this?
That's great. Oh my gosh. I'm sure Marvel has it all figured out.
Well, you're left wanting more because you're on a cliffhanger. There's no closure.
Exactly.
You're just like, come on.
Yeah.
I've already taken April 26th off so I can see the midnight showing.
Hey, look at you. Nice. That boy. Yeah. I know they moved like around here, and you probably have this too, but like there's like a lot of 7 o'clock showings now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just people our age who are just going out to see these. So it's like usually like a bunch of adults who are like really excited to be there. So that can be like a really good crowd. They can also be like they're too indulgent. Like every little joke's like, it's like shut up. Like, shut up. Like not that funny. I get it. Captain Marvel's got a lot of 1990s references. I understand.
The Russo brothers aren't sitting at the end of the aisle. They don't need to hear you laugh at everything they did.
Like, please validate us.
So when they clap at the end of the movie, it's like no one is here to appreciate the applause. Like, it's not a play.
Send it in.
Exactly. Like, audiences around the world are clapping, but why? 5 out of 10. Like, I'm not sure. So you also said, did you say Civil War and Ragnarok, or your other two?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Civil War is just.
That was the little tease where you're like, all right, if they could do this with like all these characters, you knew Infinity War was going to be able to be good. And obviously, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so his debut in the MCU is always going to like have a little warm spot for me because like, and Tom Holland is like he's the perfect Peter Parker. Like they really nailed it with Tom Holland and like Homecoming and just the whole portrayal of Spider-Man. So that movie, the battle with Tony and Cap and Bucky at the end, holy shit!
Man, it's so emotional. It's like, it's depressing. That's a good one. Well, you must be excited for Far From Home then, coming up in July.
Of course, yeah. And I loved how like people were getting upset that trailer came out like before Endgame, and they're like, "Don't you want to suspend disbelief?" It's like we all know they come back. Like they already announced this movie,
and that could have been a Sony thing too. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Sony's like, "Pull the trigger. Venom did well. Pull the trigger."
Well, like, that's the thing is Sony's not trying to sell tickets for Endgame. Sony's trying to sell tickets for Spider-Man.
They're like, couldn't care less about this. It's like whatever. And then Ragnarok though too. That's an interesting one because that's one that we talk about here sometimes on the show. But okay, what is it about Ragnarok that you love? Is it just the comedy?
The comedy is obviously one. I love Thor and Hulk together. Like him and Mark Ruffalo as Bruce when they're together is just hilarious. So like the back and forth, and then the introduction of Valkyrie. Like Valkyrie is going to be awesome, and I think she's going to show up in Endgame because the Lego toys have been spoiling everything, and there's like a Valkyrie toy like floating around out there. But because she wasn't on the ship, so she's got to be doing something.
Yeah, that's true. They'll probably I think they'll just bring back just everybody they possibly can. I'm just waiting for my boy James Spader, Ultron, to show up somewhere. Just at the very give me that Ultron, baby.
All I can think of is just Robert California from The Office. Like
I know a lot of people. I think of Raymond Reddington from Blacklist, but I get where you think that. I just want him back. I like him so much. But you've got some good MCU taste there. Mostly for me, Civil War and Infinity War, are the ones that I totally agree with you with. Joe, I don't know what your rankings are nowadays, if you have one that's switched up to the top or not, but yeah.
I can't even recall my rankings, to be honest. I know Civil War was up there. I agree with that being up there. Infinity War, I think that's got to be at the tippy top. It's just, the culmination of 10 years worth of content is just too epic.
That's the big thing.
Yeah. I think it's funny how the Russos, they're just imagine this. These guys have been working on Community and stuff, like this TV show. And they're like, all right, we're going to give you guys Captain America Winter Soldier. We'll see how you do with it. And people are like, it's incredible. And they're like, all right, guys, how about you try out Captain America Civil War? And they're like, oh, we can do that too. And they're like, looks like you guys can do anything. How about you do Infinity War? How about you do 2 parts to that? And they're like, sure, we'll do that. And it's like, what? I don't know where they could go. They're going to go smaller next, but I just think it's an exponential climb for them. They're just like, we can tackle anything. It doesn't matter to us.
They really are fearless with this stuff, and they do it so well. It's the same thing as I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit. It's just the same thing with James Gunn and the Guardians. He just knows how to write those characters and how to portray them. Yeah. And so the Russo brothers the same thing. They get the Marvel universe and they get this iteration of it.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think that's an excellent jumping off point because unless there's any other favorites you want to talk about before we move on, I don't
favorite meal.
Favorite meal? Oh, geez, that is so tough. Oh my goodness. Favorite meal. Because it really depends on, I guess, mood. So I'll throw out a couple. I love just really good pasta dishes, a really solid. I don't even know, if you go to a good restaurant, but I even cook pasta dishes as well. So anything that's a really solid one with chicken, I love broccoli thrown in there. Use like olive oils, different like Alfredo sauces, things like that. But then I'm a big fan of, a good steak here and there, a nice but those are like few and far between.
This man has good taste.
I told you. I
gotta try to space those out. You gotta treat yourself to like a nice fillet. But
there you go.
I did one order from Omaha Steaks, and then they just keep sending me these ridiculous deals. And so every time it's like, here, get this giant box of meat for like $40. I'm like, great. So I'll get one of those, and I'll eat like a king for like a good 2 weeks. So Omaha Steaks, if we can get them to sponsor you.
I'll get them to sponsor both of us. Let's just do that together. They'll be like, all right, so guys, here's the thing.
Yeah. So I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, you're lying. Now I want a fillet. I was going to ask you, Steve, like what cut of meat, but you already said fillet. So I mean, you're already like you're so good in my book because that's what I go for, baby. Oof, I love
the cast iron skillet. You cook up the filet mignon in that. Oh, baby.
Just
bacon wrapped. Bacon
wrapped is good as well, but that's the thing is like with filet mignon, you could go either way as long as it's a good piece of meat.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Now, if Omaha Steaks starts serving lobster tails, then we're in business.
Omaha Steaks and Lobster.
Yes, Omaha, Nebraska, known for its steaks and its fisheries. Which, fun fact, apparently I found this out today, in the contiguous United States, that there are more like miles of river in Nebraska than any other state, except for Alaska, but within the 48. Did you guys know about that?
Now I do.
I think that's true. Yeah, it's fertile land. See, we like to be educational here, Steve. I like to do the guise of entertainment, but then also teach people, so my edutainment just sneaks right on in.
G.I. Joe.
Exactly. Yep. The more you know. Okay, Joe, are there any other favorites you want to know from Steve before I move into it?
I just thought that was a fun one.
That was a good one. Yeah, I agree with you. But anyway, jumping off that point about steaks, James Gunn's back directing Guardians of the Galaxy. Isn't that surprising?
That is the perfect segue.
Thank you. I know I'm so good at it. Yeah, I just want to be on a segue. Anyway, James Gunn, Disney kind of going back on what they decided. And James Gunn will be returning to direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is good that they probably didn't throw away that script. They're probably like, just keep it for a bit.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, don't just throw it throw it away. I want to talk to you guys about this because I thought it was interesting. I kind of have multiple takes on it, and I know a lot of people are excited that he's back, obviously. I think it's good for Disney. Like, it was almost like a two-strike PR move, because at first you do the one where you're trying to appease the people who were like, 10 years ago he had some bad tweets, so you're like, okay, we'll do this for you. So there's a group out there who for a while was like, they listened, and now it's like they got yelled at enough and Disney's like, we've decided to not do this anymore, and everyone else is like, yay. So it's just like they're back. I wonder if it kind of washes out completely. But what do you guys think?
I'm oh god, it's so hard to hit the nail on the head with the overall feeling of this, but essentially they kind of punished him for just a split second, put him out in limbo for a minute and kept him wondering and waiting. All the while everybody that was upset with him is like, yeah. And then, they've all forgotten about it by now,
Yeah, it doesn't really matter as much.
Probably.
It's not as big of a deal anymore. A bunch of other stuff has happened since, so Disney's like, hey, come on back. We were just kidding around, man.
Yeah, please come back to us.
I don't know. Things like that are so blown up. Something that was, he was younger, careless about it. I didn't actually look at what it was, so yeah. I'm probably not the best person to comment on it, but did the punishment match the crime? Probably not. I don't know. But at least he's back now. I think it was a good call on their part. Plus, I think it's just a good recipe for success.
Yeah.
With the cast, but what the cast was saying, they pretty much weren't going to do it if he didn't come back.
Oh yeah.
I think the way I see it, I don't think he should have been fired in the first place, because the big thing is the tweets were terrible. They were dumb. Yeah. They were 10 years ago. And at the same time, he was a comedic writer, and he was probably saying the same type of stuff that so many other comedians have said and probably are still currently saying. And I'm not saying like that makes it right, but I'm just saying like it was 10 years ago. So all of a sudden somebody digs up these tweets on him. And like the way it started too was like the person dug him up because they didn't like what Gunn was saying about Trump. So like where it started was all pretty suspect to begin with.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think that they should have fired him to begin with. I think it looks kind of bad on Disney for now bringing him back just because it basically is like, we cared about that, but now we don't. Like what exactly changed? And so I just think they shouldn't have fired him to begin with. And I honestly don't think it's going to hurt Disney either way. Guardians 3 is just going to make a ton of money regardless because it's Guardians 3. And then they got Endgame coming out. They got The Lion King. They got Aladdin coming out. They don't care how this looks for them PR wise. They really don't. And it does appease all of us because we wanted to see James Gunn finish up the trilogy. He's going to be the first one to actually finish up a trilogy in the MCU. And the way I look at it too is like, I get it. Like the things he said on Twitter, he shouldn't have said them, but again, it's an attempt at comedy. And I don't bring that into my perspective when I'm just looking at some guy now, what he's been doing and over the past few years and what his work is now. It's clear he's a changed person, so I'm willing to overlook what someone said 10 years ago because I guarantee I said some dumb things 10 years ago. Probably said some dumb things 5 years ago.
Ooh,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to just hold that over his head just because somebody decided to dig up those tweets on him. It's like, that's not who he is now.
So you had seen the tweets?
Yeah, it was a lot of like, very dark humor to say the least. Like, I mean,
pedophilia type stuff.
Yeah, that was the stuff. It was pretty bad. It's terrible. It's terrible material. But again, it's so tough because like so many comedic writers have done similar things, and at this point now they're doing the same thing. They apologize for stuff they said in the past. Like, I mean, it's one of those situations that I can easily see both sides. I can see people not wanting him back. I can see people not wanting him fired in the first place. I personally didn't want him fired in the first place. I thought it was an overreaction because everything he said once they came out was very remorseful. He expressed that, you know, he is completely changed from what those tweets reflected. And then they fired him anyway. So then you had the cast, like you have Chris Pratt, you have Dave Bautista basically saying, we're not going to do it unless he's on it. And those are basically the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's Star-Lord and Drax, who are two of probably the more popular ones.
Yeah, that's true. I get why in the
Unless
first place.
Bring back Gamora. Please bring back Gamora.
Yeah. They will. I get
so.
Like Disney, like from a PR standpoint in the very first place, because Disney is all about their image. And I could see where like that they knew about these tweets, like, you know, and they were probably like, hey man, like you can work for us, but if anybody ever brings this up, we are going to have to like fire you. Like you get that, right? Like, I feel like that was never even a question. Like it was like one of those like kind of like waiting for the hammer.
You think it was brought up initially and they talked about it?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if it was like that extreme.
I don't know if they talked to him about him, but I really seriously don't think that if they're going to vet this guy, like they vet everybody, that they didn't know about this. I think they knew about it internally and were like, let's just not, unless somebody says something, don't talk about it.
I know your love for Disney. I gotta tell you, I don't think their vetting process is nearly that in depth.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, you think that with this kind, and if it wasn't, it is now. Like, you know, like going forward, they're probably looking at everybody and they're like, just in case, because it's such a debacle and you don't want to have this with like a really well-known franchise. It's like right now, like with the Russos, what if the Russos, like something came out about them and like, or like some of this kind of rumor stuff behind like Tom Hanks or stuff like that. It's like,
if that ever happens, just cancel everything.
We're done. We're done.
Tom Hanks is bad, then what is good?
Yeah, but I think it's probably the smart decision, and I wonder if a lot of this also came off the heels of like him getting courted by WB, Warner Brothers, and going to work on Suicide Squad, and they're like, yeah, we don't like that, so like, like come back.
I can see that, but because that's the thing, he's still doing Suicide Squad, which I'm very excited that he announced it's going to be like a full-on reboot.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too, but I mean, you already beat me to it, so like, yeah, it is going to be like a full reboot, which I think is, I'm like, well, you know what, WB, at this point, I'm not really surprised about anything you do, because it's just like, why have anything be sacred?
Put the shit there, or why not stomp in it, right?
This has been a rudderless ship ever since Nolan stopped doing the movies.
I feel bad because, like, you know that, like, when I almost say Kevin Feige, but when Joss Whedon went over there and like did like a course correction for Justice League, they're like, let's change everything to that, and then there's like James Gunn's free, and they're like, what could we use him for? And it's like, like
it's like, oh, the comedic team that kind of matches the comedic team in Marvel. Perfect. Yeah. Let's put him on that.
And that the cool thing about this too is like we're gonna have a guy who's directing not only for, he's gonna be directing for both, like both Marvel and DC. Yeah. And it sounds like over at Warner Brothers they get it, and they're like, hey, you know what? It's not gonna be the end of the world. You can be both a Marvel and a DC fan, and I think it's totally fine. Like if anyone's drawn battle lines, I think it's the dumbest thing. It's like he'll probably make one of the best DC films out. I'm not even a huge Guardians fan, but even I'll be like, yeah, the Suicide Squad will probably be like a good movie. Like it'll be just better than what the last one was.
I know. I'm such in the minority where I'm one of the few people who don't hate Suicide Squad. Like I know it's not a good movie by any sense.
Yeah.
But I think there's good elements to it. Like I thought Will Smith was pretty good as Deadshot. He's being replaced by Idris Elba, which I mean, come on, Idris Elba, like he's gonna be great.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He's great at everything. Which, little side note, that movie was like Hobbs and Shaw. I mean, come on, like that's gonna be incredible.
It's gonna be so stupid. I love it.
I love how they're just going full superhero now in the Fast and the Furious universe. It's so ridiculous.
Cars fly.
Yeah,
they fly.
Just Jason Statham, The Rock, and Idris Elba just doing ridiculous fighting scenes. It's gonna be 2 hours of awesome. But with Suicide Squad, they're doing the full reboot, but they're keeping Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. So I think that's kind of, I mean, I don't know who else, she was great as it, so I don't know who else they'd really want to put in, but I think it's weird that like she'll just be the one person who's stuck around.
Yeah.
It's going to be an entirely different cast.
It's a reverse Maggie Gyllenhaal situation. That's what I'm going to start calling it. It's a Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Full circle. It's coming full circle.
They're like, it makes perfect sense. You see, we switched out one lady, and now we just keep the only lady you remember. At least we won't have like
because the Birds of Prey that movie.
Yeah. And she, I think people really like love Harley, and like you said, she does a really good job with it. So they'd have to find somebody else to take on this role, this iconic role, and they already have her, and she's kind of locked in. So I think they're kind of like, all right, just keep the good, and hopefully one day we'll have something that actually works, because they're just kind of trying to just find pieces and smash them together. Yeah. So they're like, all right, James Gunn and Margot Robbie, like that should be good, right? Like I hope. And like Idris Elba's here. Is he gonna put on a mask? We're not sure. Which is weird because he complained about being in the superhero stuff with Thor. Like he didn't want to be Heimdall anymore because it was like green screen stuff or whatever. So either A, he's changed his tune, or B, they offered him a ton of money to replace Will Smith. Like,
well, I think it's two things, because I don't think Heimdall is a big enough character compared to Deadshot. Like Deadshot in Suicide Squad is going to be one of the headliners. It's going to be, you know, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and then maybe if they get a big name to play whoever the villain will be. But like that's the thing, is like I think it's the headlining aspect, as well as a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure there is so much. Like we were this close to Deathstroke being on the Suicide Squad. Come on, guys. Oh God, it kills me. It kills me. Man, they gotta lock people down better over it. I mean, like Ben Affleck's gone, and it's just like, you know, just hold on to Momoa. Just hold him close. You know,
I still need to see Aquaman, but I've heard it's very entertaining. I've also heard Shazam is very entertaining.
Oh, really?
The problem is you got to see Aquaman in theaters. I rewatched part of it lately. I didn't make it all the way through. I started to just like, that doesn't quite jive. That doesn't make sense there. Wait, why do those do? Wait,
Joe, you can't. We talked about this. It is a fantasy film. You can't be like.
I start to get a little tripped up. I start to get a little tripped up when I'm watching in my own home. When I saw it in theaters, I was like,
overwhelmed by the moment.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, but yeah, Aquaman is good. I can vouch for that too, and it's made over $1 billion. So that's the problem too. Is like you have that, and Wonder Woman did well, and you kind of say like, all right, it's like you're constantly course correcting. So like whatever does well enough, they're like, we'll make like 5 movies in that universe. Let's make a trench film, and you're like, well, no, Aquaman didn't like. It's not like everybody loves the ocean. It's like
the only reason I saw it was for the trench. It was
exactly. I love the trench so much. But like that movie, it's good.
As I was gonna say, I saw IGN said that the Matt Reeves, the Batman film that he's working on, there's the new rumor is it's supposed to be set in the 90s, and I think the Penguin is supposed to be one of the main antagonists.
Yeah, we've heard there's gonna be like 3 or 4 villains in it, but it could be a like Amazing Spider-Man 2 situation where they only like show up like briefly, so we don't really know.
Yeah, that's true.
Steve, if you had to pick a Batman, we had to choose Batman recently.
Who my favorite Batman has been?
He's already said it.
Like an actor to be Batman.
Oh, a new. Well, all right. Well, I'll say who my favorite Batman actor is, anyways, just because why not? But Michael Keaton for sure. Like Michael Keaton is the OG. Like he's perfect as Bruce Wayne. He's quirky. He's got the little humor and that was like right after he did like Mr. Mom, so no one was taking him seriously. But he had good comedic timing. Him and Jack Nicholson squaring off as Batman and the Joker. Perfect. Still my favorite Batman movie.
So not Christian Bale, huh? Wow.
No, yeah, it's definitely Keaton. I love Keaton. And then, of course, close second, George Clooney. Like, why wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Poor love George. Those nipple suits.
Was it Levi who suggested, George Clooney for that?
We're like, dude,
it's like, where have you been? So this is actually kind of tough because the one they're going for this one is they want to do like more of a younger one, like kind of an earlier Batman, and actually focus on like him being a detective, which is fantastic because it started as Detective Comics, and he's like one of the best detectives in the world. So why wouldn't we focus on that after all this time?
Yeah. Totally.
So kudos to Matt Reeves for being the first one to crack that case.
Yeah.
A detective in his own right.
Yeah, exactly. I heard rumors like people were talking about Armie Hammer. I honestly think Armie Hammer is too tall to be Batman. I don't think Batman should be like super big. I think like I don't know, like Christian Bale was a good size, like because he built himself up a little bit, so he actually put on the muscle mass to be like a convincing Batman. But he was also like a relatively perfect height. This is really like the toughest thing because I don't know many like, I guess like prime actors right now who could pull off like a good young one.
I say we just do Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and we just say it's a direct continuation to Dark Knight Rises, but never reference it ever, and just be like, people are like, this is so messed up. Like,
kind of like how Dark Knight Rises never references the Joker ever, which is one of my biggest qualms with that movie. I have a few qualms with that movie, but that's a topic for another time.
Sure, fair enough. I understand. I'm not going to fight you on.
I don't know. I guess like. Go-to Batman. I heard rumors too, like Jake Gyllenhaal, but now that it's a younger one, I don't want that because like I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal's a little bit older now. Like he'd be better off playing like an older Bruce Wayne. Oh, this is so tough. I don't even know who's like a big name actor these days.
I think Jimmy Dwayne Johnson.
No,
yeah. You know what? When all else fails, just have The Rock do it.
Yeah. It'll make money just if he shows up.
I just want them to back up a dump truck full of money to Ben Affleck's house and be like, all right, Ben, we know you don't want to be Batman. How about this? You're going to be old man Bruce Wayne. We're going to do Batman Beyond. You can drink and just sit in a chair and pretend you're on the back of your like, McGinnis, Terry, are you okay out there? And like, you never have to move. You can just be sat in a chair. It's going to be great. Like, you're not going to do anything.
I thought Ben was good in Batman vs Superman. I just thought Justice League was just a dumpster fire. Like the pacing, I thought the pacing of Justice League was all over the place because like they reshot the whole thing and
it's rough.
But and I kind of it felt like Ben was kind of phoning that one in. I thought he was actually trying in Batman vs Superman, but in Justice League, I felt like some of his lines were just like, "Guys, we got to do stuff," and it was like, "All right, Ben, this doesn't feel like a real passionate performance."
For sure. Yeah. At that point, he's just like, I'm only doing this for my kids and I don't even want to do that anymore. It's like, please stop hiring people when they say I did this for my kids because it's not sustainable. Just, you're going to lose them.
You say that, and given my recent viewings of that film after it came out, it's enlightening. You're kind of right. I don't want to go as far as call it dumpster fire, but it's a little wonky. Plus, it hurts that they kind of, they meld all those characters together, and you're so used to the way Marvel had done it with the solo, and then somehow they interact together. And it's like, Well, here it's like, they're all together. Great, we're spoiled right off the bat.
Yeah,
and they don't get it quite right. So
and they don't do the whole pan around scene where all of them are kind of getting ready to fight, and man, I'll never forget seeing that. It's good stuff.
They had no patience with it. They were just like, Marvel laid out this perfect blueprint that we could totally follow. But you know what? Screw it. Yeah. Let's just dump all the characters into one movie without any backstory for like three of them.
Almost as if they just straight out of the gate analyzed it as a competition and said, well, we got to make all our money now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, jeez.
That's because Christopher Nolan ruined it for DC. That's all I'm trying to say. He was like, the movies he made are great, but then they're like, all right, let's take the tone and let's just take that and immediately apply it to everything we do to catch up. But it's like, no, guys.
That's the recipe automatically because of their success. And
Nolan was like, nope.
You can't do like dark and brooding like you do Batman with Superman because that's not who Superman is.
Yeah.
It's like I feel bad because like Henry Cavill's a good actor, but he just has to play like this so lacking of personality Superman. Like
especially
Clark Kent is charming, he's got charisma, and this guy's just like, oh, man, everything sucks. Even though I'm literally Superman, I can do whatever I want.
But I don't mind him having complexities to his personality. Like I enjoy that he can kind of go through the ebbs and flows, or should go through the ebbs and flows. Right now he's just down here, but.
Because that's the thing is it's very monotone. That's how I describe it. It's a monotone.
Right. Monotone is probably the perfect term.
Yeah. Well, he had like 40 lines of Batman vs Superman, and most of them was just frowning. It's just like, hey, he's in the Capitol building. It exploded, and now he's sad. You're like, that's probably not the best Superman. Like, and they didn't like the theatrical cut of it doesn't show him like helping save citizens. Like the actual like director's cut shows him doing that because like in the regular cut he just kind of walks outside and takes off. It's like
I thought the same thing too.
Yeah.
It's like he's not even gonna do anything. He just runs away.
It's like they're like, hey, what should we cut, editors? And like, how about the part where he saves people? And they're like, he's a superhero, right? And they're like, nah, not in this one.
Doesn't make sense for our Superman.
You have to have Batman kill everybody, like a lot. They're like, I agree. Every person
running people over.
I mean, like, yeah, I get it for some of those kills, but some of them, like, dude, you're going out of your way to like just take your Batmobile, just like slam it into people's faces.
Yeah, because like I feel like they were trying to go Frank Miller Batman, but they just went like Frank Miller Batman times 100. Because in Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, he doesn't kill anybody.
They went George Miller Batman. They're like, what would he be like if he was like Mad Max Batman? And it's like, I'd kill everybody. Yeah, what a perfect family film that everybody loves. 10 out of 10 for Justice League and Batman vs Superman. Watch them back to back. Don't even watch the credits. Just bleed straight into the next one.
I do enjoy Batman vs Superman. I thought that was good up until the turning point. The Martha turning point, dumb. Rest of the movie pretty good though.
Yeah. The turning point is just like it's such a small blip on the map, and they just used it to immediately flip the action sequence back to the good side of things, and it's like there's no substance to it.
Yeah,
what did you say? Martha. It's his mother.
Because like they could have still done the same concept, but they could have just been like, hey, wait a minute, Batman. Lex Luthor's playing us against each other. He literally kidnapped my mother, whose name is Martha.
Which Batman should have known because he like knew Clark Kent at that party immediately, and like probably did some background checks, and he probably could have seen the names and been like, oh, clearly this is not their son. Oh, he's got the same mom.
Yeah,
our moms are the same name. Like he should have been beating him up and like, my mom was Martha too. One like
Clark would have been like, exactly. We're supposed to sit here and believe the world's greatest detective, billionaire Bruce Wayne, who knows everything, is shocked to the core when he hears the word Martha.
Yeah, that's his kryptonite.
You don't deserve a Martha.
Exactly.
That's it. Just anytime you're getting beat by Batman, it's like, hey, Martha. And he's like, wait a minute.
Doomsday was cool, but they kind of wasted him. You know, the whole death of Superman thing, it was all kind of wasted. I see how it went into Justice League and made it something, but I just feel like it was a little much for something that was focusing on the Batman-Superman relationship more. And they didn't really develop a relationship between the two other than at the end he felt guilty because he died. Well, okay.
But, best friends. They're best friends now. They love each other. I'm sorry. I know you guys like that movie, but Lex Luthor completely ruins it for me. I just can't not think of Lex. Just Jesse Eisenberg just going, oh, I don't know where she is. It's just like, please shut up.
The thing that it scares me and annoys me that you're so good at it.
I know. I've thought about it a lot. He feeds,
That's a good impression.
A Jolly Rancher to a man. Like he unwraps it and feeds it to him.
It's so like, weird.
Like, what is Zack Snyder's like? Yes, this is a dark universe. Feed him the Jolly Rancher. It's like
slower. Yeah. This is the shot.
Man, he should have been Riddler. He would have been.
Who got you watermelon? I said sour apple.
I will walk if I don't get it. Jesse, man, Jesse, and then the whole tease at the end of Justice League. And Steve, we talked about this a few times here, but I've never had a 10 and a 0 moment more when seeing Deathstroke interact with Lex Luthor, because I was like, oh my god, it's a comic accurate Deathstroke on screen with like a big budget, and then there's freaking Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I was like, if only Bryan Cranston were here, like this would be the perfect moment for me. And it's just like, nope, just didn't.
God, is there a way that they can pull that, like put a poll out and like who's advocating or who's into the whole Deathstroke end scene, like who wants Deathstroke?
I don't know.
Bet you they get a crazy just.
Well, he was going to be the main villain for that standalone Batman film, but because all that got weird, I don't know anymore. And especially if it's going to be detective focused, not that Batman can't fight, but like Deathstroke is such a physical opponent. Like it would be more of like a raid movie then. You know?
Dark Knight Rises, they did it with Bane. I feel like Deathstroke could be even more interesting as a main enemy. It's a shame.
Yep, it's a shame. I just love Deathstroke.
They shot their wad on the DC universe way too quick. They were just like, let's just spew everything we can throw out on these people at once. See what happens.
Every day I feel like they announce 3 more films. They're just like, and now today we'll be doing one about, guess what? Martha, actually Clark's mom, is a spy. They're like, we learned this from Sony, and they were going to do like an Aunt May spy film. We're going to take that script. We're going to make a Martha spy film.
I'm waiting for this one. They're gonna be like, Justice League. We swear that never happens. We were just too excited, and we're gonna reboot it, and we're just gonna keep Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Everybody else knew.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna have to be.
Yep, they're gonna be like, goodbye.
Luckily, they can travel through time with Wonder Woman and tell different stories, so they can still make her connect with Batman in the 90s. Yeah. But I don't know what they're gonna do with Aquaman. Like
they'll just have the lasso of truth around him, and she'll just pull him she'll be like, we're going, and he'll be like, what? And they'll just take off, and I'll be like, okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What do you know about the lasso?
Exactly. At least Zachary Levi seems excited about Shazam, and if anything does happen with Henry Cavill, like I'd miss Superman, but they could put Shazam in there to kind of fill a role for one film. Not the same character, obviously, but at least the similar power set.
I don't even want to think about losing Henry Cavill as Superman.
I won't think it. I won't entertain the thought. Yeah, he might be Geralt, but he's still got time.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm looking. Are you?
God, the hair. The
what did
wig
you think of that? So bad. The wig is kind of bad, and he does need to get some facial hair and stuff. But I'm
one of the few people probably who haven't played The Witcher 3, so I mean I don't have much of an opinion on Geralt. I just know the wig was not good.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And it's Netflix, so I never sometimes their stuff is like super high budget. I'm like, wow, that looks really good. And then other times did we even try?
Oh, yeah. Like every Daredevil fight scene, I was like, how do you guys afford this?
Yeah. It's like, And then in Iron Fist, I'm like, you guys should afford something better.
Yeah, it's like, where did the budget go?
It's like, we can't do the Iron Fist. We can only do it once per episode.
Yeah, it's like, nobody cares about glowing fist Bruce Wayne.
Exactly. Yeah.
Iron Fist is.
Yep. That's why he's canceled. That's why they're like, bye.
R.I.P. to the Punisher and Jessica Jones, though.
That's okay. We're gonna get him on the big screen eventually, or Disney Plus will find a way to do it. Honestly though, I would love to see a new Punisher in the movies, because
get me John Bernthal just in the movies.
Wait, you want him in? I want I get rid of John Bernthal.
I don't like John Bernthal.
I honestly. He's too short. He's too different from the Frank Castle I like. I like the one in 2007, Thomas Jane. I liked him as the Punisher. I just watched Punisher Warzone, and that's got Ray Stevenson.
Warzone sucks. Yeah, Ray Stevenson looks like a low budget, if you could even imagine this, a low budget Steven Seagal. That's what Ray Stevenson looks like.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to care at all in this movie. But I really like Thomas Jane, and I just want the Punisher, whoever they get, if they were to redo it, I want him to be just like like, you said with Batman, like you want him to be like certain. I want him to be bigger. He needs to be like a big imposing dude because he has no superpowers. He's like a jack dude with a ton of guns. Like
maybe Army Hammer could be him.
They're like, hey, you can't be Batman, but you can be Punisher.
Cool? Can we pause on that for a second? I still can't believe that that's a real name.
It's crazy, right?
Army Hammer.
Army Hammer. He probably gave it to him himself.
The fact that his last name is Hammer, like,
and the fact that he's like 6'8".
Yeah, is he that big?
He's God. Really. That's an exaggeration. I think he's like 6'5", but still, that's really tall.
I always think of like Lone Ranger, and I never think I'm like, oh, he's there with Johnny Depp, and I'm like, is he that big? But maybe he's like,
he's a tall boy.
He's a tall boy.
I just looked him up because you mentioned him earlier, and I was like, man, who is that guy again? And I looked him up. Oh, okay, yeah, 6'5".
Yeah. I love John Bernthal as the Punisher. I actually think mostly because I love the way they tied it into like a realistic story where like, he was a veteran, he served, he saw some terrible things because he was part of that, special force that basically just went against the rules for everything that they did. So I love that kind of that different twist on his backstory. And the energy John Bernthal brought to it was just amazing. Like every scene, it just radiates. And I remember the season finale of season 1, that last episode was just a roller coaster of emotion.
Well, like when he actually started punishing people, because like that whole season, he doesn't punish anybody. And it's like all about these other guys with PTSD, which is fine. But it's like, can we focus on like the Punisher? Because like I don't need another like 13 episode origin story. I'm like, get to the punishment. I'm like, go, like start smashing people's faces. That. Like get the guy in the glass, baby. Like
he smashed some faces.
I like that.
I loved the second season though. I thought with like his little relationship with the girl, like that was fun. Like that they had a good chemistry. And then Madani's arc, I thought it should have ended a little bit differently. I don't want to spoil anything here with it, but I definitely thought the arc with her and Billy Russo probably should have ended a little bit differently than it did. But overall, I thought that was a really interesting season. And the villain, where it was like the Pilgrim, but like you learn more about him, and then the way that ended too. I just thought it was like a really well told story all around. And again, like John Bernthal, now I just associate the Punisher with him.
I just see Shane from The Walking Dead. I think that's my problem. I just hate
it
so much. And it was so long that we had to deal with that creep. And I remember the first episode where he's like licking Laurie's stomach. I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm like, what is this show? Yeah, in the first episode, it's weird. I'm just like,
yeah, Walking Dead has been a trip. This past season's been really good though.
I just can't believe I'm like, that show's just gonna keep on trucking. They're just gonna keep making that money.
They keep losing people though, because Michonne's done after next year.
Yeah, she's like, I am Wakanda forever now. So
yeah, she's like, I'm about to make a ton of money in these movies, so I'm out of here
and do like a quarter of the work. I'm not saying like just for a TV show versus like a movie, and especially if she's not the main focus. Like she's like, why? I'm gonna get paid way more and not be it's totally fine. Like I'm gonna go over here now. But I think we'll see those characters again. I don't know what they're gonna do with them, but I'm sure we'll see. And I know people have been calling out, especially for Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin and Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Daredevil, like truly like almost perfect casting. I think especially for him, I was like, wow, like you found the perfect Matt Murdock. Just like take him, bring him into the movies. Just
I love Daredevil. Man, season 3 was amazing. God,
yeah,
that's such a good one.
I love that. I love that Kingpin. I just love him.
So good.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from the Suicide Squad reboot talk that we've been doing here. We have to talk about something here briefly. Everybody's favorite, Stadia. Now, if you're not familiar with this,
did you say Stevia?
Yes, I did, Joe. For 5 low payments, no. So Stadia is it's Skynet, basically. It's Skynet. So watch out for that. Basically, Google at GDC this week, they announced that they've got this new, almost Netflixy type of streaming thing that will be available for some amount of money at some point. And what you can do is basically stream games on your just a PC, just on any PC, really, even a laptop, on your Chrome, like you on the browser. So basically, you'd be paying for some sort of like fees for, it was like storage space or something like that, but it would be kind of like I said, a Netflix. You'd be streaming games directly to your computer or phone or whatever else. You would kind of eliminate the need for actual gaming consoles and like what was the other thing? It was like gaming consoles and something else they wanted to get rid of. something people.
Just people in general. Yeah, that's Google's mantra. Less people.
Yeah, less people is better.
We're working on the robots. They're almost finished.
Yeah, and they're big kind of they've been showing off. They did a project. It was like a test stream of it, like a couple months ago in October with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they could stream at 60 frames per second. And it apparently it did pretty well, but from reports that we're hearing here, especially at GDC, and this could change depending on how your own personal internet connection actually does, latency issues, stuff like that, and I think that might be one of the biggest problems we face going forward with it. I did want to talk to you guys because I don't know all the specifics about it. Steve, hearing this crazy kind of like, let's get rid of just gaming consoles and stuff, how do you feel? What's your initial reaction?
I think like we knew this was coming because we've heard Google talk about this for a little bit now, and then we heard at E3 last year Microsoft is fully planning on going to a streaming model. But I think what Microsoft is doing well is they're still doing the things that are like the way they're done now, where they're like holding on to consoles still, and they're moving towards the future while still giving the present and the past their nod. Because Sony's been doing the PS Now for a while, which is game streaming as well, but Sony just doesn't have nearly the internet infrastructure that Microsoft and Google have, because Microsoft and Google, that's like what they're built upon, where Sony has always been products. You know, they build TVs, video game systems, laptops, all that jazz. So I think the potential is absolutely amazing. I think there's a possibility where it's going to open up gaming doors to so many people who couldn't get their hands on a console for one reason or another. And now you don't need like a top of the line gaming PC to enjoy games on your PC. And you can play it on a phone. You can play it on a Mac, a PC. You can play it on just the controller, where it looks like the controller will be Wi-Fi connected, and I guess just like Chromecasting onto your TV. So there's a lot of potential there. But like you said, I think there's a lot going to be relying on the actual individual user's internet service provider, because we already deal with data caps, like with the whole net neutrality nonsense that's been going on, like because they got rid of that, or I don't even know, they got rid of it or they kept it, whatever was the bad one. That's what happened with net neutrality. I don't have the articles in front of my face here, but so like internet service providers can limit how much you're able to upload and download. And so that could right there pose a problem, because it's running off of Google's data centers, but in order to connect to Google's data centers, you need your own internet. And so you're going to end up falling to whatever those limitations of your own internet service are going to be. But again, like being able to just like pop in a browser, click and play a game without any download, any install, and then if you want to go somewhere else, now you can just pick up where you are in that game on your phone just by sharing a link. Like that's incredible too. And the walkthrough thing, that really jumped out to me. Whereas like if you're stuck in an area and you click on the help button on the controller or like on the game, it basically scans YouTube to find a walkthrough that's at that very moment you're at in the game. So it triggers the video to be exactly where you're at. So like those little things are stunning to me. I think it's an amazing concept, and I think that is where we'll get, but I think there's going to be some roadblocks at the start. And we still have a ton of questions. Like you said, we don't know pricing. We don't know when it's going to release, other than it's going to release in 2019, and we don't know any games. They said that they're going to announce like exclusive games in like June, I guess, at E3.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Joe, hearing about this, what do you think, man? Is this something you're for? You against? How you feeling?
I guess it sounds cool. I mean, one thing I worry about is, okay, I'm playing, for instance, I've been in the Call of Duty Blackout a lot lately, right? Your ping and your frame rate is ultra important. Like that split second delay could be the difference between a win in a match and a loss. Mm-hmm. So I guess I would have concerns about that. The pricing is the other major topic, obviously, which you touched on. We don't know any of that yet, but like if you're taking a stab at it, say you still have to like purchase the game, is it going to be a Netflix based thing? Okay, 10, 15, $20 a month, times that by 12 months. I mean, why not? I don't do stuff to buy the game. Does it wash out? Is it similar to the cost of a console that's going to last you 4 years maybe until the next thing comes out type of deal. Plus the game cost. I don't know. I want to see that math, I guess. Does that jive? They have to make it cost competitive. Otherwise, why would anybody go for it? Maybe just for the fact that, oh, yeah, I want to play the game on my computer 1 second. Then I got to go get groceries. So I'll play while I'm in the grocery store. You know?
On my iPad or whatever,
And then how do the games themselves support that? Like, if you can play on a mobile device or you can play on a tablet and a PC, how does it go from keyboard and mouse to touchscreen back to keyboard and mouse, and then a controller on top of that? That's
I forgot to mention that the size actually maxes out at a regular phone, so it'll be full screen on your phone, but the size of a phone on your television. No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be great? It's gonna be like this big. It's gonna be this. People will be like, no.
It's like, you got us, Google. You got us.
You did it. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like we want to talk about it just a little bit, but at the same time, there's still so many questions before we can ever make like an actual judgment. I think for me too, like you said, Joe, does it wash out? What's the pricing like? So many people are like, oh man, this could be way cheaper than like consoles and stuff. That might be true. But then I start to think about like, okay, but what if my internet isn't super good? So like I need to start putting money into that. And then like starting to think about what that will look like versus buying any games ever. And, trading is gone. Like trading games is like, it's kind of dying out anyway, but Xbox is even talking about their next console having a version that is all digital, like it has no disc tray. So like the Xbox, like you said, Steve, they're kind of like honoring the past, but they're like slowly getting into this hot tub where Google's like cannonball, like they're just like jumping in, and like Microsoft's like like, and Sony's over here, so I was like, what's everybody doing? And Nintendo's like, hey, Switch, like so there's like everybody's
Nintendo literally just figured out online like 2 days ago. They're like, oh, internet.
They're like, oh,
we can do that.
Good. Cables. So I don't know. It's a really fascinating concept. And unfortunately, like the latency thing, it's something that really, really bothers me because Joe was talking about, Blackout. I've been playing Devil May Cry 5 and I would be pissed. Like if I was playing that game and the frame rate wasn't like super high and like there was like lag issue with like, cause every button prompt, I suck at the game, and like to add on top of that being like you didn't jump, you didn't whatever, like stream it, whatever. So I wonder if they're gonna try to do something where they'll have that option, but then there'll also be like a download option too, like or something like that, kind of like with Sony,
I know, because that's what I fear as well. I feel like because like I just think there's no way around not eventually needing to rely on the internet service provider of the actual user. And because like even if you have a good one, if you have a lot of people using the internet at the same time, that could clog it up. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, it's scary.
And I'm like cautiously optimistic because again, like the concept of it is so cool to me. Like I think it's awesome, and like I know once it launches, I'll probably at least try it out because I'm gonna need to know how it works, and I'm gonna be very curious just regardless. But man, I think there's just a lot of obstacles to overcome. But that's the thing is like Google, if there's gonna be a company that can probably pull it off, why not them? I know that they've had some failed experiments in the past. Like that's the thing is the internet with all these things is hilarious just because they're like, oh, remember Google Plus and Google Glass and all these things. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, they're trying stuff. They're still like the biggest company in the world. So yeah, let them do what they're going to do.
Their World War II plane restoration project.
Did they do that? Was that a thing?
Yeah, the Google, the Google,
the Google, classic, the Googles. We don't seem old or anything.
I forget who it was. If it was some of the board members or higher ups there or something, they have a collection of World War II planes that they're trying to restore, and they're so difficult to restore. Not even they can quite get it right and get them flyable again.
Good.
Yeah.
Imagine being just like the Google employee who's like the test pilot for one of those.
You're the intern.
Like, oh, jeez.
They're like, get in the bomber. They're like, what? And you're like, get in the bomber.
Can I have a parachute? Nope.
I told you last week we were working on it. It wasn't ready.
Yeah. We had to cut the budget. To cut the budget. No parachutes.
If you do this,
cut the
though,
budget for this Stevia thing.
Yes. They're like, if you do this, we're going to give you 3 days every week of complete and utter hammock time. So you can just sleep. And you're like,
Next to the ping pong table?
Exactly. Dude, it's under the ping pong table. Like,
the nap pod.
I think like any other gaming console, and this is technically not a console, but it's really weirdly, it's going to be the software. I think if they have some crazy killer exclusive things that people are like, I just cannot not try this. Like that's what I was hoping they would show, and they might have shown something. I didn't watch the whole thing, but if I'm them, I'm thinking like, all right, so I'm showing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like Doom or whatever it was. This is like I want them to show a thing that's completely be like, it's not on Microsoft, it's not on that was Sony, that was Nintendo. Something brand new that people are like, I gotta stream, I gotta play that game. I want to play that game so badly, and they're like, well, you can only do it through this. That's what you gotta
do. I think they'll really grab eyes at E3 because who's actually at E3 this year? So
well, I mean, Sony stepped out, so they're probably like, it's our perfect time to strike.
It's like Microsoft and Google, and then Nintendo doing press conferences, and even Nintendo. I don't even know if they're really going to do like a full on press conference. I know now they pretty much do directs and all that. So
direct to the treehouse, I'm sure.
But
that's what they're doing.
The rumor is the exclusives or some exclusives for the Google product will be announced at E3. So I guess we can see, but you're exactly right. It does depend on the software because look at the hardware of the Xbox One X. It's literally the best console performance-wise on the market, but the sales aren't there because there's nothing to play on it.
Yeah.
Like that. That's it. Like you can make an amazing piece of equipment, but if you don't give somebody a reason to buy that equipment, it's not going to sell.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anything all that different from the Xbox One that's been performing for 5 years for me,
exactly.
Like, why do I spend double the money?
I wonder if it was, at the end of this console cycle that Xbox thought, Microsoft's like, hey, we got Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out. We got Cyberpunk 2077 maybe coming out. Like some of these other games where people want to play like the best version of it, and they're hoping for repeat sales. Where people are like, "Oh man, I love my Xbox, but if I can get a little bit nicer, I'm gonna try to get that." Because like I think about Cyberpunk not only being on our consoles, but like to stream that game, I just don't see that streaming at 60 frames per second. Like on my Chrome, like on my web browser, if you're like, like I don't see it happening. Like I love CD Projekt Red, but I just imagine talking to these teams. They're like, hey, what if we could stream your game everywhere? And they're like, go on. They're like, through a web browser.
You want to impress me? Show me God of War on this web browser. All right, show me that.
Running really nicely. That would be an easier test because like it's a technical like marvel, but at least it's a single player game. Like add like another character like co-op in that game. Would be like,
that's a huge question. Is like competitive multiplayer games. If there's remotely any latency, then that's a problem. Yeah. So man, there's a lot of questions. Again, cautiously optimistic. I think it represents where we're going in gaming for sure, because we're going to see more of this. We already know we're seeing it from Microsoft. Who knows what Amazon's doing? Because aren't they trying to do a game thing too?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know if it's going to be streaming. But I could see them. Jumping in.
They're gonna try something, and I mean I'm very curious because again I think Microsoft has actually positioned themselves pretty well for the future with the small studios they've acquired, but obviously with this partnership with Nintendo that they've been doing. I love it because now I'll eventually be able to play like Games Pass on my Switch, which I think is fantastic because I don't have an Xbox. So like now all of a sudden I'm gonna have access to like this cool library of games. So I think Microsoft's doing a ton of cool things. Like Phil Spencer is fantastic. I think he's great at what he does. Yeah.
Love you, Phil.
So I think we're in this spot now because we're still getting amazing games on the current gen, but like we know the next gen is literally right around the corner. We know those announcements are coming. Yeah. Like they could come as early as this year for, the PS5 and the Xbox, whatever it's going to be called. Maybe they'll just call it the Xbox 2. Who knows?
Yeah. Do it.
See, the thing that's weird is, how are they going to replace the entertainment system functionality of an Xbox? Like I think like probably 40 to 60% of my time on X. Yeah, but if I want it on my TV, I got to stream it from the computer. Would I rather turn the Xbox on and just use the remote to do my stuff? Turn on the computer, stream it, and then have to reach over and change to the next episode on the computer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm describing like ultimate laziness and stuff, but
that's the point.
No, that's where their pricing has to be like probably the number one priority. If they can beat the pricing, I think it's a done deal for them.
Yeah, because my PS4 is the same way. Like HBO, Hulu, Netflix, and I have because I for cable I use PS View, so like it's literally my cable box now. Like,
yeah.
So it's
Xbox
everything.
has that feature too, so
yeah,
that's going to be tough. They got to do something that trumps it. They got to create a funnel somehow, and I think it's the cost.
Yeah, because again, imagine if it's $20 a month. That's something that so many people can easily be like, oh, $20 a month, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I'll do that so I can play any game I want, anywhere I want. But that's when it starts to get questionable. Like, what if it is like $50 a month? That's all of a sudden now like, wait a minute here. Like, do I really have $50 a month I can throw towards this when I already have, 4 other gaming systems?
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be like, I think like it should be 50, but then I think of like, all right, well, like I look at Games Pass, that's like $10 a month, and there's like a ton of things on there, and obviously you have to buy the console and get the gold membership and whatever else, but it's like that's a lot of stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be nuts. I'm interested to see how they do it, because I think also they should just take their time with it, because the internet obviously very quick to jump on things. And if this thing, we all know about it.
Are you saying gamers are fickle?
I'm saying that they are just so excited. They just can't wait for the new things. And Google out of anyone should understand that. So if they are excited, Google, they should know like full well that if they launch a product that isn't at least accessible by a good majority of the people that they're actually marketing this to in a very proficient way, that they are going to have like a stigma, and people will just they will rip this thing apart. Like they will be like, this is garbage. Consoles will never die. And like, stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of animosity going in and a lot of confusion from people. But at the same time, there's a lot of hope too. Cause it's like for a lot of people, like you said, who might not get this chance, then also I feel bad for people who maybe don't have access to internet. And they're just like, well,
yeah, that's the thing too.
Like, it's like, see ya. Like, I guess we're not doing games anymore. It's
you
like
live out in the country and you're working off a cellular. You're just like, oh.
Yeah, it's like we only stream games now. I better get a smartphone. It's like, oh my god, my 4G plan is crazy. Like, imagine trying to play like one of these games on a smartphone and just like you like look at it after a couple days, you're like, wow, I probably shouldn't have been playing that for 18 hours. Just like watch your like your data usage just skyrocketing. You're like,
and the battery and the internals get so hot it's like burning the back of your hand.
Oh yeah. My phone battery couldn't even handle Pokemon Go. There's no chance.
Nope.
I also hope that my work doesn't block the website.
That's a real thing, because I think
my
that's
boss listens to this podcast, so I'm not going to say anything.
It's like, the Chrome, they'll just be like, we only use Mozilla Firefox. We don't use Chrome here. Never Chrome. Like, if we see it downloaded, we're going to fire you. It's just like, we know what you're playing. We know you're playing games. We know you like to play the battle royales. And like I said, it's going to be something we're going to converse about more and more. But like we talked about too at E3, I think that's when we're really going to see them kind of come out and really describe it all at the same time as like Microsoft's talking about their next console. So in a way, it's kind of good, because it really pushes everyone to be better, especially if you're in the console game. You're like, okay, like let's see what's going on here. Like, all right.
Competition just breeds excellent games for all of us. Like that's the best part. Is like we just get to play some awesome creations. And that's why, like you said, you don't understand like Marvel versus DC, like that type of fandom, like, pick one or the other. The same thing with like console wars. I remember back when I was a kid, it used to be like that, where it's like we would always like be like, oh, PS4 is better or whatever, PS3 is better. But now as an adult, every time I literally, because I have a PS4 sweatshirt or like a PlayStation sweatshirt, and I was like taking out the trash one day, and somebody drove by, and this kid just goes, PlayStation sucks. I'm like, really? I was like, I'm almost 30. What do you like? Are we really going over this?
Driving by, no hands on the wheel, and making the X symbol.
Yeah. Xbox #1, man. So yeah, I don't get the whole console wars or anything.
I see the memes all the time too. On Instagram or something. You'll scroll across a couple.
All right, now it's time to move into that segment of the show that we all like to call Joe Hit Me With It.
Timekillers.
That's right, it's time for Timekillers. The games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been viewing. Steve, because you're a guest here, you get to go first. What have you been killing time with?
Ooh, I've been killing a lot of time with the Division 2. I've been really enjoying it. I think it's a really well done game. It feels very similar to the first one. I don't think it's like going to be drastically different for anybody who played the first one. You're not going to notice like any major changes, I would say. I think it still feels fluid. The cover-to-cover combat is still the main focus, so you really want to stay in cover, use your gadgets. Also, just like every other loot shooter, it plays better when you're playing with a group of friends. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. I think the story kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. I'm sure you've probably seen things on the interwebs about it, how it pretty much just takes like a non-political stance, even though it's about a civil war in DC. So like,
that's actually kind of
at a time where there's a bit of turmoil.
Yeah, I mean, whatever floats your boat, guys. You really want to say that this doesn't take a political stance? Go for it. Anywho, I'm having fun playing it. Like because when I played the first division, I wasn't like sucked in by the story either. Honestly, a lot of these like loot shooters, other than what Destiny 2 has been doing recently, the way they've been kind of dripping their lore with like the DLCs and like the different side quests you can do, and like they've kind of done lore a different way where it hasn't been all like in-game cutscenes. But other than that, I feel like the story for a lot of these loot shooters is almost secondary, because it's all about like the grind and, you know, ranking up and doing missions and taking out enemies and things like that. So all of those aspects are really fun. I enjoy doing the main missions. Matchmaking is really easy. So like if you don't have anybody that is on to play with, you can just quickly go hit matchmaking and you can squad up with, you know, a couple of people and take on a mission and get through it relatively easily. It actually plays pretty decently as a single player game too. Like I've been doing a lot of the side stuff as single player, like when I don't want to matchmake or anything like that. So the side missions, control points, which are little areas on the map that the enemies will take control of. So you have to defeat all of them and call in your reinforcements and hold the point while like a couple of heavily armored people come in. So I've been having a fun time every time I actually do pick up the controller, just playing like a couple hours a night. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a review on that. I feel like I might end up doing like the good, the bad, and the ugly of all these loot shooter type deals with like all three of these games. Because I just played Anthem, you know, last month, so I have a lot of thoughts, but like comparing those two as well as Destiny 2. So I've been doing a lot of that. I've been picking up the Messenger again a little bit too, because when that game came out in September, it came out like right around the same time as Destiny 2 Forsaken, Spider-Man, and Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yep.
So unfortunately, it ended up getting pushed back a little bit because I ended up having to write reviews for Spider-Man and Tomb Raider. So I had to put a lot of time into both of those games respectively. But now I've been going back to it because Picnic Panic, the DLC, is coming out this summer. And luckily, I'm going to get to go hands-on with it at PAX East and hopefully talk to Thierry a little bit about it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's such a fun game, like platformer, Metroidvania, Ninja Gaiden type deal. Like, man, it's just so much fun. The soundtrack is absolutely stellar. The 8-bit to 16-bit graphic change, fantastic. What a nice touch. Like it adds like that unique element that you don't get to see in a lot of games. So that one's like my kind of wind down game. I'll play like a couple of levels of that. And I say wind down like it's an easy game. Like that game is challenging. So, but it's one of those games like on my Switch, I get to sit back in the handheld mode and just play a couple of levels with it. So those are my games that have been taking up a lot of my time for sure.
Cool. Nice. Have you been watching anything though?
Oh man, I've been going through like as many of the Marvel movies as I can lately just to rewatch them.
Oh, he's prepping. He's prepping.
So I've over the past like 2 weeks, I've gone through Avengers 2, Civil War. I went through Ragnarok again. I watched both the Guardians movies. I watched Black Panther again. I watched Iron Man 2 because I hadn't seen that one in a long time. Still not the best one for sure.
Yeah.
But still, like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is just perfect. Like he's just so charismatic. Like I could watch him.
I prefer 2 to 3.
See, actually, I haven't seen 3 yet. That's one I haven't seen yet, but because I've heard 3 isn't that good, because I heard that one, and I've seen both of the Thors, but not in a long time, like Thor and Thor: The Dark World. Both of those like didn't really jump out at me too much, and so I don't really have a desire to like go back and watch them again. But like that's one of the things that's like holding me off from actually watching Iron Man 3 is I've heard so many people just like, it's not that good. You don't really need to watch it. And so that's like one of those where like maybe someday, but as of now, it's not high up on my list. But all the other ones, oh yeah, I rewatched Spider-Man: Homecoming because I love Spider-Man.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Cool. All right. Joe, how about you, man? What have you been killing time with?
Oh, well, it goes without saying. Blackout, latest update. Great. St. Paddy's Day. 2 days late, of course, for us Xbox guys. But I don't understand how that game still has its claws into me so tightly. I can't stop. But as of more recently, I've been spending a lot of time watching stuff, believe it or not. So I recently really got into History Channel's Vikings.
Oh yeah,
wow, heard it's really good.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised by it. Like I kind of had to get through the first episode, and then once I started watching a second one, it just started to grow on me. I'm like, all right, this is legit. And by the next day, I was watching or listening to like Celtic Viking music on Spotify, listening to the entire the entire 5 or 6 seasons worth of music they had on the show, and I'm just like, yeah, this has cool vibes. It's fun. It's intense, and it's cool that they take it and they, it's kind of like a more grounded version of Game of Thrones. It's not as mythological, being that it's, done by History Channel. I feel like they do a fairly good job of really hitting home the historical value of that. What do you call it? The Viking deal. So, yeah, I'm only halfway through the first season, but I'm really liking it. It's cool. What else have I been watching? There's something else. Yeah, it escapes me. Vikings, top of the list.
Cool.
Loving it.
I watched the first couple seasons of that show, and I liked it, and then it got to a point where it got kind of weird, and I was like, I'll come back, and then I just never did. So I'm not a diehard. I'm sorry, but it's a pretty cool show. Do you have a favorite character? Is it Floki?
Oh yeah, just the last episode I just saw, though, it looked like he was gonna die. So
I build boats.
Yeah. I'm convinced he actually is Loki, like the Earthbound.
Sure, Loki, yeah. That's he's kind of a tricky guy. Okay.
Old trickster.
Trickster. It's funny. I didn't think anyone would bring the name of this game up on the show, but you did. I played through the entirety of Shadow of the Tomb Raider through Games Pass, and
how'd you like it?
I actually like that trilogy a lot, and I thought it was interesting how you could manipulate the puzzles, the platforming, and the combat for varying difficulties. I thought that was cool. I didn't really mess with it too much, but the only real complaint I would ever have with these games is that I never feel like the stealth is mandatory and the shooting isn't super great. And if you get caught out, you're just done. And it's just like, in this game, you feel so cool because you're like Predator, like you cover yourself in like mud and you're like in the grass and in the vines and you're just stabbing dudes. And that's all well and good. Even though I think I'd play with the audio a little bit on the knife stab. There needs to be a little more like, guys, come on, let's like get full into it. But I like Lara a lot, and I enjoyed playing through this, and I think she's so cool, and I think there's so much potential for these games, but so many people I think look at it and be like, oh, it's like Uncharted, but like a mature Uncharted, and not as like the story isn't as good, and the stories are never super good in these, like they're fine, but this one was like, oh, there might be ramifications for it, because in the beginning of this game, Joe, you might not know this, but she actually takes an artifact, and then it's going to cause like an apocalypse on the planet, just because she was greedy and decided to take this artifact. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
It's based off of the most recent movies, Lara Croft, right?
So actually, the most recent movie is based off of the new reboot that they did a few years ago. So like the newest one of this trilogy, which was just called, I think, just Tomb Raider. That's what it was based on. So like a more mature,
Wait, is the video game's like a precursor to the film?
Nope. Well, the first game, Tomb Raider, is the same basically as the movie. Like the new reboot game and movie
so
are
there's
like
been 2 games since.
Yeah,
but
I think the reboot came out. I think the reboot initially came out like 2013 or 2012, because I played. How I was introduced to the rebooted trilogy was Tomb Raider came out for free on PS Plus for PS3, and so I was like, oh, let's play this. And then I as soon as I started, I was like, oh my god, this game rules.
Yeah, they're good. It's a good game. They're good games, and that's the turning point between 360, because I've got the definitive edition. I think it was the turning point between 360 and 1 and PS3 and PS4. So like it was making that graphical jump. But yeah, I wish they would have gotten the person who played Lara Croft to actually play Lara Croft in the film, because I'm like, she's really good. Like she does a really good job with it.
I associate that voice now with Lara Croft, and I agree with you. The shooting wasn't good. That's why, like, when you were trying to rank her up, I would always try to rank up as many stealth things as I could.
Yep.
And I would try to rely on the bow because the bow was actually really good.
Yeah, the bow is very good, and I use it a ton. And I use like this kind of like sight up like headshot thing at the end of the game where you can like sight up on two people and kind of like get both. And I was like, okay, this seems like a good thing to have. It's just like the shooting didn't feel right, and I never liked it. And there's in every one of these games, and Uncharted got this way too. There's always like crazed people who might be monsters but aren't, and they can take a lot of shotguns to the chest, but they just like there's just people running at you, like that's the enemy type if it isn't just regular dudes. Like this game, they're like unforgiving with their stealth. It is not like even on normal, it was like they spotted you and just like, all the bullets are coming for you, and just like, well, like
you're like, well, that's the end of that.
I'm like, like on the Arkham games and Spider-Man, you got to like it didn't take very long to dispatch somebody, but like this game, it's forever. Like you stab a dude, like stab him again, and like try to pull him back kind of to a space, and you can't move bodies. So like when that body's there, it's like it's not like Hitman where you can be like, oh. Like, move it away, Lara. But I love that they're like, oh, it's just one woman or whatever. She can't do anything. Like, come on, Croft or whatever. And it's just like, I'm gonna kill everybody.
Do you remember the scene when like shit's really bad and like it's the mudslide, and then she gets up out of the water and like the music just like drops to that like boom, and it's just like, oh shit, and she just goes full Terminator.
Yeah, she's like fire behind her.
Like I thought that was like the coolest scene in games I've seen in the longest time, because there was that mix of like this amazing cinematic moment and then just taking control of this character and being an ultimate behemoth for like a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, and you kill so many people in that because she thinks her best friend is dead. And spoiler alert, Joe. But she goes and like there's these like you see these guys in the cinematic who like see her come out of the mud, like she's just covered it, and they're like trying to shoot her but they can't. And then she like stabs them. She just grabs this assault rifle and she's just like screw everybody. And she just starts murdering everyone. And you're like.
It's easily one of my like all-time favorite moments in a game at this point. It was so cool.
And it was good. It was on top of the fact that I was just like doing it through Games Pass. I was like, this is cool that I get to like play this, and I'm good. Like I don't need to go back and do the tombs and stuff. But yeah, it's solid. With those. I'm like those games are always like a 7 or an 8 for me. I think they're pretty good. I think if you could get the story team from Naughty Dog and like to put on top of the gameplay, it would be like a 9. I'd be like,
just for the love of God, give us the crossover we all deserve and give us a Lara Croft and Nathan Drake game with Sully, because Victor Sullivan might be the greatest side character of all time.
He's very good.
I love Victor Sullivan.
Yeah, he's good. I also played Alien Isolation, and as people can attest to on the stream, I played it for 2 hours the other day and didn't see the alien once.
Seriously?
What?
Yeah, it takes that long, or maybe because I'm an idiot, it took me that long. So what I did last night, I put the headphones on and I'm like, screw it. So I went back in and I got to the scene where the alien finally showed up, and then the game turned into being fun. Because before it was like, just go hit a button over here, go over and do this thing. But when the alien got introduced, I was like, uh-oh. And I'm pretty sure I screwed up, because there's a moment where there's like 4 people who find you and you're supposed to sneak past all of them. But I played it like BioShock and waited and I killed all of them. But what you're supposed to do is get past them, proc the alien, and then the alien goes out and kills all those people for you. So when the alien like came to that point, I was like, it's an empty room. And I'm with the alien. I was like, quickly and quietly open the door. I was like, beep, 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 beep. Like, and I saw it, and it was genuinely terrifying when the thing started moving around. I was like, okay, now this game is cool, because without that aspect, it was so boring. It was so mind-numbingly boring. But it took me so long to get there, and I was like, this should have been the first 15 minutes. I was like, this will happen right away, right? No, it doesn't. And I'm just like, why does it take so long like to do this? And it's not like, oh, they introduced every tool to me, because there's still other places like, oh, you don't have the ion torch yet. And I'm like, okay, like it's like kind of I'm like,
what have I been doing for 2 hours?
Yeah, and then like when you kill these guys in the beginning, which apparently you're not supposed to, you can't pick up their guns. You have to pick up the specific revolver that's on a desk somewhere that's for you, because you pick it up and do one of those like, oh, look, I have a gun. I'm like, whatever. But I didn't get killed by it, and I was just like, I see you, Xenomorph, and I saw it sneaking around, and I was like, I respect you. And then I was like, now I'm done. Like I was like, wash my hands of it. So I did that, but it was the most boring stream, and I apologize to anybody who watched it. And they're like, I thought there was going to be scarier stuff in there, but it was not. That's when it got scary. Like the music started picking up, and the game looks really good, even for being a few years old. Some of the facial animations for the people suck, but everything, like the actual world itself. Joe, I think you would you get a real kick out of this because I know how much you love Alien in that franchise, so you really get like enveloped in it, which that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Alien, and that's pretty much an Anthem, which I just put a review out for people who want to see that. I finally got a couple days before the actual like month of it being out, but it was one of those things like I felt like I had to play a ton of it, and I had to play with friends and get to the end and kind of jump into the end game before I could be like, all right, here's the the real thing. Because I think a lot of sites kind of like get their review out and they're like, oh, we'll play for like 2 days online and then we'll but it's
you can't just put a couple scoops of ice cream on for your sundae. You got to finish Sunday cherry on top.
Exactly. And every review I do is basically like a big old sundae, baby. It's just like a 20-minute sundae just waiting for you to just
delectable sweetness.
Exactly. And I also got sucked into a formulaic sitcom, or not really a sitcom, but Superstore. It's on NBC. It's basically like The Office, but put into like a Costco or a Walmart. For some odd reason, I watched a lot of it. A friend had the seasons, and I'm like, I'll watch this.
Is there a laugh track audience, or is it like is it actually shot like The Office, where it's like
shot like The Office,
that faux documentary type deal? See,
and
that's some type of stuff I can get because I love Parks and Rec just like I love The Office. So like those shows are very funny to me.
They don't do the whole they don't do the whole like sit down and like talk one-on-one with them. The thing they do instead, which I think is a really amazing insight into humanity, and as someone who worked in one of these types of stores, I totally get it. To transition between scenes, they'll just show a random shot of somewhere in this place and of a person doing something probably bad. So like it'll be like someone who like takes their gum out and puts it into like a cup or something like on the display and just walks away. Isn't a main character, it's like a random person or just
that's
something.
Actually pretty funny.
And it's really good. And they sometimes put little jokes in there too from like callbacks from other episodes of like someone wearing something, and they'll be like, I was like, good job, guys. Like that's pretty good.
That's like NBC's bread and butter because The Office and Parks and Rec were both NBC shows too. So like I think they figured out their formula.
It is the formula, and you like see these characters like, oh, that's the Dwight. Like you're like, oh, that's the Michael. Like you're like, that's clearly what it is. But it works, and there's something like funny about it, and it's just nice that it's something new. So I'll probably burn through. It's like 4 seasons on there already. I was like, okay,
not bad.
They also do tackle a lot of things that I think The Office tried to do too, where it's just like they talk about stuff where I think other shows wouldn't be able to get away with it, but because they're kind of like supposed to be kind of realistic, they just kind of like put it all out there, and it's just very like sometimes like, oh, you're talking about this in the workplace, huh? All right, like I guess that's fine. It's just comical. But, so I was watching that, and like I said earlier, Punisher Warzone, watch that. Not great. I still like the one from 2007 or 8 better.
I'm not gonna lie, I watched that a couple months ago because I had it was like right when the Punisher was about to come out for season 2.
Yeah.
So I went through, I rewatched season 1, and I was trying to find the Thomas Jane one, but it's not on like any streaming service. So I settled on Warzone, and I was like, I immediately couldn't get over the fact that Ray Stevens is just like a B-list Steven Seagal, and Steven Seagal is like already like D-list. So Ray Stevens is like he's like M-list at this point.
I remember the highlight of that movie being like Psychosocial by Slipknot, and then going back and watching it, and they play that song and they don't have any of the lyrics, and they just show a bunch of gangs just walking into a building while they play that song, and it's just like they're not even looking at the camera. It's not even shot super well, and they're all just kind of like walking into a building.
Like, and the portrayal of Jigsaw is just the most cliche, over the top, like mob boss. It's like, well, what are you gonna do? I took your best friend hostage. Like, all right.
And it's great because I thought of him because he plays Lara Croft's dad in the Tomb Raider reboot. So I'm just thinking about that at the same time. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the same dude. I'm like, this is such a different role. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's not. The beginning of that movie is probably the best part. He kills a bunch of mobsters in like a super hyper violent way with a bunch of weird dumb little sound effects. It's like shing, cling, sa-ching. Like it's like he's like stabbing people in the head and like lopping their heads off. You're just like, okay.
I do appreciate those movies that are like so bad they're good. So I like that's one of those movies. I have an appreciation now for it because it is so bad that it's kind of good.
Yeah, there's some pretty funny one-liners in there that they don't want to be funny, but it's like
exactly.
It's like
the writer was like, "This is gold," and then when it played out, I was like, "It kind of sucked."
Yeah, you're gonna watch this movie, get a bunch of buddies together, and grab a pizza or something because it's not. Yeah, it's like an hour and 40 minutes, so it's not like a big commitment, but it feels a little bit like that. Anyway, we're moving on to my favorite segment of the show: community feedback and questions.
And questions.
Thank you, Joe. I love it. So I asked our lovely Legionnaires what they thought of Stadia, but a lot of people were afraid to comment on it because Stadia will kill your internet.
As we saw.
Yeah, but we did get one response here. Let me see if I can find it. By the way, do we fall? Like, I should have done a hypometer on Stadia. Where do we fall from like 0 to 100 on Stadia?
You first, Steve.
I think I'm gonna sit at like a lukewarm 62%.
Okay.
I'm interested. I'm not getting overly excited because I'm aware of the barriers that exist.
Sure. Yeah. All right, Joe.
I gotta admit, I'm probably about the same. I mean, out of 10, I'd probably give it a 6, maybe even a 5.5, 5-ish. I'm kind of right in the middle of the road. I'm not totally committed or sold on the idea. Again, pricing, big factor, but I don't know. I like my console. I like it.
That's true.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to just give it up and watch it collect dust for that,
That's true.
Yeah. I guess I'm going to be really boring. I'm going to be 50-50. I'm at 50 on this. I think it can go one of two ways. I think it's going to be the future regardless, but I just think that there's going to be a chance they do this too soon, too fast, and people are just all over it. They're like, look at this. It'll just be those YouTube videos, just like, look at the latency, like, look at this game perform horribly. And they'll do the side-by-side comparisons, be like, PlayStation 5, Xbox 2, it's Stadia. And you'll be like, uh-oh. Like, it's like looking at it like,
either way, fails or does really well. It's a big thing for Google because people post all that content and all those reviews on YouTube.
Yep, and that's what they said.
That's true, yeah.
One of their things they're talking about, they want to work with all the developers, but they're like, for YouTube content creators, it's just like a one-stop shop to get all that together. It's just like, all right, we'll see how it goes. Corey Lang over on Twitter, buddy Corey, says, about Stadia, I'm excited, skeptical, scared, interested, and most importantly, I plan on observing initially from the sidelines. I want to see more at E3. I want to know what this means for the physical media industry, and I want to see more games. What first-party games do they have? I think that's a really smart way to look at it, Corey. I agree with you.
Well said.
So it's kind of like going on the like the no pre-order culture, like that we're starting to see now, because like I feel like people are now a little bit more skeptical about doing pre-orders in general. So you start to see a lot more people kind of take a step and like see how something actually pans out before they jump headfirst into it, which honestly, as a consumer, that's the best thing you should do. Like none of this is cheap. Like gaming is a relatively expensive hobby. So if you're going to invest your money into something like this, you want to make sure it's going to be worth your time and money. So
hence why the pre-order bonuses and freebies keep going up and up.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
I was actually like this close to paying like the $100 for the special edition of Division so I could play it early. And I was like, do I need to play this game early for $40 extra?
I played the Division 1.
So it's like, I waited because I was like, this is ridiculous. Why would I do this?
Yeah.
But I was, that's the thing is like, I was this close. And so I know there were tons of people who did do it. So
Oh, totally. Oh, for
it's
sure.
Still working.
Still working. Well, that's why you gotta, if you're listening to this, you gotta find reputable sites you can trust. Plus One Player is one of those sites. You go listen. They've got some good articles over there. All right, they're relatively timely.
Your reviews are great too. I gotta check out your Anthem one now.
They're just the only
I'll
problem
compare
is
it to mine.
Yeah, well, I have to go back and look at yours because I was
compare
looking at
notes.
It's called critical reviews. It's not called timely reviews. All right, we're not getting these codes, baby.
No, that's exactly it.
That's why I tell people, I'm like, I'm not gonna kill myself over these things. I'm gonna take my time with it, and eventually, people still check it out, which I appreciate. That people still enjoy watching me sit in a booth and talk about this stuff. This comes in from Missile Mage. The only question we have here this week, and it's a fun one. He says, you are given a small role as a cannon fodder character in the next Avengers or Star Wars film. Who would you like to be killed by? So if you get to get killed by somebody.
Like 1,000% Thanos. Thanos is like, he's the best Marvel villain. Like
No. Think that through. Think it through. You could have been the guy on the sidewalk that just dissolved into dust.
Oh, no. Well, because the question was just like, how do you want to be killed? But like, I want to be in battle, like maybe one of the Asgardians. Like maybe I'm the one who like tries to jump him from behind or something, and he just destroys me because he's Thanos. But like to be killed by the Mad Titan, that's not bad. That's not bad.
That's a cool one. Joe, how about you? You got anybody? And again,
it's better than going out by the hand of Groot or something, or an accidental tree swipe sort of thing.
We are Groot.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask how I would want to go out.
By whose hand?
Thor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait. Okay. Why? So why?
Listen, the guy runs around haphazardly, just throwing lightning bolts all over the place. One of those is bound to hit, a friend instead of a foe.
I feel like that's Ragnarok territory. Like Taika Waititi would draw that in somewhere, and he'd be like, and Thor would be like, "Oh, I'm so like this big climactic, scary end scene."
And he just out of his peripheral, he catches me. I was about running into battle, and he fries me, and I die. And that image is burned into his brain, and he can't forget about it. And they show him brooding at the end of the movie. That guy that I didn't know. Oh.
Fair enough. Okay. So
either that or I want to accidentally catch. What's the new axe called?
Oh, Stormbreaker.
Yeah. Stormbreaker. Oh my God.
It flies by and I accidentally catch it, rips my arm off. I want to go out with a laugh.
You're also like the greediest cannon fodder we've ever seen.
The arm is attached to the Stormbreaker as Thor catches it. What the hell?
Shakes it off.
He just thinks it's a new ability of the hammer. He's just like, oh, this is something new. Sure.
On the way out, though, as he shakes it off, as you lay dying, he goes, "Oh, strong grip." He compliments your grip. You know.
Yeah. See, I would be remembered.
Yeah, he holds you in his hand for a second. He'd be like, "You have the grip of a true Asgardian." And you're like, honestly, I just wanted Stormbreaker for myself, dude. I saw my moment.
I was going to turn on all of you if it would have stayed. But...
Exactly. You're like Thanos' last hope. And he's like, yeah, I'll do something different, though. I want to do a flashback, and I want to be one of Vader's victims. Like in Star Wars, they flashback Darth Vader just murdering people again, and I just want to be one of those guys who's like, like
in Rogue One?
Exactly. I want that. I want to be in that. Like, I just want, that's the best character death.
Do it,
like,
sir.
Exactly. I'm like, that's what I did when we were at Disney, and like he's in the Star Tours ride. He like picks up your ship, and I'm like, we're all gonna die by Vader's hand. It's the best way to go. We're all gonna die together. I'm like, yay! Like that red lightsaber. Yeah, exactly. And like the thing is, he'd forget me immediately. It wouldn't be like I remember you. He'd be like, yeah, nope. Like just be like in half somewhere on the ground, already dead. But that's how I'd want to go out. That'd be pretty great. Excellent. That really brings out the masochist in all of us, which is wonderful. And if you ever have a question that is either masochistic or sadistic in nature, you can always send them to the show, and we might even talk about them.
I want to send those ones my way.
Yeah, send those to Joe. All you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast. You can tweet at either of us here. You can tweet our official account, which is @GoCritical. It's capital G or capital C. Or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. But if you want to tweet those creepy things at Joe, where would they tweet you?
At Lever_627. Lever just like Beaver, only with an L. And don't forget about at Levi Fletcher.
Yeah. Oh, look at you. That's so nice of you. He's not here, but you're still
like the jeans. FLETCHER.
Something like that. I'm not going to check it.
He never spelled it. I'm convinced people don't know.
That's true. However, if you do want to tweet at Steve something completely different, you don't have to tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to him, but if you just want to tweet at him, Steve, where would they find you?
You can find me at +1 Bastek, and that's plus PLUSONE, and then my last name BASTEK. And then if you want to actually tweet at the podcast, that's just at +1 player, and that's at +1 player.
Excellent. And that information should be here on the screen, but it'll also be down below as well. So if you want to go find them, check them out. We're going to plug them in just 1 second. I have to do one other thing first. We are streaming on Twitch. Go over to the Twitch. If you want to support us, go to Spreadshirt. Thank you to Daleb for our music, Your Nevers for our art. And if you want to support our channel, check out patreon.com/criticalreviews. However, if you're already doing that, or you want to do something different, I highly recommend you go check out +1 Player, formerly known as Ombra Gaming. +1 Player, though, they're great folks. You might remember Manny from a couple of months back, but Steve is here. He's kind of the head honcho over there. We did a charity stream with them recently. Steve, tell us a little bit about +1 Player. What exactly is it for people who might not know?
Yeah, of course. So just like this, we're a weekly gaming podcast as well as a website. So the website, we do a lot of different articles, whether it be reviews. That's kind of the common one. But then Matto, one of the teammates, he is a big fan of like doing some humor pieces, which are very funny. He's one of like the funnier writers I've actually been able to come in contact with. So you can always find the website at plusoneplayer.com. And then the weekly podcast, we're on everything: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, whatever it may be. And that's just the Plus One Player podcast. So every Wednesday we release on the East Coast time, we release Wednesday at 1 a.m. So that way it can reach our overseas listeners, which we actually have. Shout out to FaZe, who's our resident Norwegian correspondent.
Yeah.
We actually, it was funny because when Groundhog Day happened, we were talking about it in the Discord. He's like, "What's Groundhog Day?" And we explained it to him. He's like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of."
Yeah,
like, yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, so go check us out at plusoneplayer.com. Find us on any of the podcast service that you listen to. We got quite a few episodes, so plenty of stuff to go get caught up on. All the episodes are about an hour or so. And then twitch.tv/plusoneplayer. We stream nearly every single night of the week. We have 5 of us on the team, so we all take turns streaming. But we stream a variety of different games. Like you'll see like Overwatch, some Elder Scrolls Online. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of going through the Metal Gear Solid series now when I stream. So anything that you can expect to find, you'll find over there. And yeah, we have a Patreon as well, patreon.com/plusoneplayer. So if you check out all the content, if you like what you hear, think of heading on over there. If you're already sponsoring Go Critical and you have an extra $1 or $2 to throw our way, we'd appreciate it.
No, go check, please check them out. And a shout out here to Kate, Chrissy, and both the Matts. That's everybody, right?
Yep, that is everybody now. Yes,
they're wonderful people. If you like Steve, you're gonna like these guys too. And I've only had the pleasure of getting to hang out with them for like one full day of my life, but they're just excellent, wonderful folks. They're
Thank
all
you very much.
Funny, intelligent, kind, and I'm really happy that we can be affiliated with you guys in any small way. It's been a real pleasure to work with you guys.
I feel the same way. It's been a lot of fun because that was one of the cool things about even starting this is getting to meet some of the people that I've now got to meet. Fun fact. So we've been doing this since October of 2017, but next week at PAX East, that's going to be the first time that me and Matt Martinez are ever going to meet in person.
What? That's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. He was like, "What if we don't like each other?" I was like, "I feel like that would just fit the aura of the show better if we actually don't like each other."
That guy is a riot, man.
So tune in. Tune in for PAX East. We're going to be doing because we have it on Instagram. So we'll be doing like some Instagram lives when we can. We'll be doing Instagram stories. So at +1player on Instagram. But yeah, PAX East, if anybody out there is going, feel free to stop us in the hallway. We'll be wearing our +1player gear. We might have a couple of shirts to give away as well. I'm hoping. So it'll be a fun time. I wish you guys could make it. But hey, let's always try to plan for PAX West because that'd be a fun time if we could do some fun gaming things out on the West Coast.
Gosh, it would be so much fun. And any reason to go back to the good old Emerald City, I would love to do it.
I've heard Seattle is really nice. So other than the rain, but I want to get out there.
Oh, dude, just PAX is just freaking. I just love it. Just getting rid of all the crap in between yourself and the people who actually make games and like shaking hands. And like, especially with us, I just have such a love. Even though I don't indulge in a ton of indie games, like we're like the same group of people where it's like we're shaking hands. It's just like they're trying to get their stuff out there, we're trying to get our stuff out there, and they're just excited to meet someone who else is also excited about stuff. You're like, "Oh, cool, I've never heard of this game." And they're like, "Yep, totally nobody's heard of this." You're like, "Oh yeah," shaking hands. You're like, "Hi, hello, friend. I hope this does really well. You seem like a really good person." So yeah, PAX. I'm starting to hear more people talk about PAX in a way better than E3, just because it's not as insane and it's more of like a community vibe. And whereas E3 is pretty big business, like you have to go in there with a plan, otherwise you're just gonna be like, "Yep, just standing in lines."
Oh yeah, I learned that because last year was our first PAX East, and we didn't go in with any semblance of a plan. So this year it's much more structured, and I have like actual like appointments lined up. So nice. I know where my days are gonna be. I know what panels I'm going to. The What's Good Games panel. Gotta shout out the What's Good Games here.
Yes,
they're doing it Thursday night at PAX. So for those who haven't checked out What's Good Games, fantastic podcast. But their panel last year and their meet and greet was easily my favorite events of PAX. So I'm very much looking forward to doing it again this year and hopefully getting to meet some cool people.
Yeah, do me a favor. You give those ladies my love, and believe it or not, next week one of those fine ladies will be on this podcast.
That's amazing.
It's insane. I can't believe she agreed to it. I was like, really? I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, cool. I was like, okay, here we go. All right, here we go. So
who
I'm really
is it? How are you leaving me hanging on this?
I don't know. I can maybe tell you when we stop recording, so other people will be like, "Oh my gosh, who is
Tune in next week."
Oh my god, that's incredible.
Same bat time, same bat show or place. I don't know. I didn't watch old Batman. Bat hour. I don't remember. But anyway, we better wrap it up so I can tell Steve this because it's starting to. I have to tell him. But Steve, thank you so much for being on the show. You are welcome anytime.
Thank you.
We love it. And Joe, thank you for being here too. This was it was a fun pairing, and this is the only other time besides Manny, I think, that we've had a guest on from another group like this, and just it clearly shows that we love you guys, and you guys are wonderful, and we all fit well together.
Yeah, anytime you need it, give me a call, because Wednesdays I'm usually streaming, but I can always do that another night. You know,
look at him.
The
What a guy!
can wait.
What a guy! Yeah, exactly.
We have 4 other people who can take my stream.
Exactly. Yeah, get to work, other people. I love you, Kate, Chrissy, and Mats. There we go. I just covered my bases here. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next week, just remember to adapt and overcome.